Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Alana Unger. I am with Wellness Concepts, and I'm excited to be here with you guys this month of Heart Month to talk to you about some heart health solutions. See if we can help keep you guys strong and healthy with your heart health. I love the program that you have with the points that you get for wellness. I really love that. So I love that you're getting points for being here. Do you get points for eating the food?
Zero points.
It's free. There you go. We're going to be talking about some different topics today. We're going to talk about heart disease facts. We'll look at some risk factors for heart disease so you know what those are. We want to see if you know your numbers. Have you gone in for your biometric screening with your doctor? And if so, what do you think of the numbers? If not, when are you going to go? And what you can do so that your heart health is on the tip tops. Unfortunately, heart disease is on the rise. It's much more prevalent than it used to be. It's the #1 killer for men and women. Did many of you think that heart disease was more prevalent in men? You saw it a lot more in men? That's like a conception that we have, that men have heart disease more than women. Not true. Sorry, ladies. We actually have more heart disease with women than we do with men. Another misconception, how many of you think that if you get your blood cholesterol checked and the cholesterol is a good number, they tell you your cholesterol is healthy, how many of you think that that means you don't have heart disease? Or that you're pretty safe, you don't really have to take care of yourself, right? Because cholesterol came back, right? Not true. Be really careful with that one. I have a lot of patients who had perfect cholesterol readings, so they thought they were safe, and then they had a quadruple bypass, they had a open heart surgery. So that is one marker that we used to think told us that there was or was not heart disease. It's just one marker. There's a lot of other factors that we'll be looking at. So if your blood cholesterol test is good, that's great, but that doesn't mean that you don't still have to take care of yourself. There's still a risk for that. Although high cholesterol is one of the main factors for heart disease, as is blood pressure and smoking. And almost half of us have at least one of these factors. So we want to be on top of that. We want to listen to the experts. They tell us to take a wellness approach. It's like a total approach to all of our wellness. So we want to talk about some of these issues with you today. We really want you to look at your health as a total wellness approach as well. So you want to know your risk factors. You want to manage your stress, exercise regularly, maintain a healthy body weight, eat a healthy balanced diet, limit unhealthy fat, salt, and sugar, and limit or avoid alcohol and tobacco. So we'll talk about most of these as we go to the top. Some of the risk factors that you might have, you can't really change. Getting older is a plus because the alternative isn't so good, right? But every year that we get older, we're at a higher risk of heart disease. And the older that we get, if we start to have heart disease at an older age, we're more likely to not survive a heart attack. Especially older women, sorry again ladies, but the older women tend to be more likely to die if they have a heart attack than men at an older age. So age isn't something that we can control, but it's something that we want to be aware of. The older we get, the more we want to take care of ourselves. Not say, I'm already such and such age, you know, I'm not going to pay too much attention to my health now. It's that much more important as we get older. Your family history, does anybody in your family have heart disease? Do your parents, your grandparents have heart disease? That's something to be aware of, not anything really that we can do anything about though. Our race, different ethnicities are at a higher risk for heart disease. So again, nothing we can do about it, but it's something to realize that Hispanics, some of the Asian cultures, there's different ethnicities that have a higher risk. So again, all the more reason to take more care of ourselves if we are in one of those. And gender, again, ladies, we really need to take care of our health and our heart. Some things that we can control. All of these risk factors that you see here will lead to heart disease. Very likely that they will lead to heart disease. All of these risk factors that you see here are in our control, at least a little bit in our control, to at least try to modify or control the different risk factors. You can choose if you smoke or not. You can choose if you are physically active or inactive. We have a lot of control over those two. Your blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, and your weight are also factors that if they are out of control, there are a lot of things that you can do to try to gain control and to try to modify those risk factors. So we want to be aware of, do we have those? Do you know if you have high blood pressure or not? Do you know if you have high cholesterol or not? Okay, so you're aware of that. Knowing that, being aware of that, getting your biometric screening done, going to the doctor and finding out, hey, is there something else I need to be a little more concerned with? Are my blood sugars okay? You can't necessarily tell when your blood sugars are running high. So getting the tests done to let you know is really important. Blood pressure is actually known as the silent killer because you can't tell when your blood pressure is running high a lot of the times. But if your blood pressure is running high, it's causing you damage to your heart, your kidneys, your eyesight. So to find out, where does your blood pressure fall? What are your numbers? So you've got the upper number and the the lower number, the systolic and the diastolic. I always think of it as sit down. Sit is on top and down is on the bottom, if you need to know that. Otherwise, just the upper number and the lower number. So if your upper number for your blood pressure is less than 120 and the lower number is less than 80, you're good. Your blood pressure is really good if that's consistently where it runs. If it runs higher than that, either or, the top number or the bottom number, then you want to make sure you're working with your doctor to see what all you can do to get that under control. Your cholesterol, the total cholesterol number, when you've gone to the doctor, do you get one cholesterol number or do they give you like a breakdown of different types of cholesterol? They do give you the breakdown? Okay, good. Because that total number is important, but what's really important is to know what type of cholesterol is making that number up. Because there's good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol. Have you guys heard of HDL and LDL cholesterol? Okay, which one is the healthy one? HDL or LDL? HDL is healthy, you want it to be high. So LDL is lousy, you want it to be low. Because HDL can actually help go through and help clear the cholesterol out of your system. So you want that number to be high. 60 or higher is really, really good. And you increase that by taking care of yourself. Good, healthy eating habits, exercise. That will help increase the HDL. The LDL actually is what will cause your body to take the cholesterol out and make deposits in your arteries. Cause the buildup, cause the heart attack. That's when you have the heart disease issue. And triglycerides, have you heard of those? Some yes. Triglycerides are actually the most abundant fat we have in our system, but when the number gets too high, think if your blood is getting kind of sludgy because of all the fat making it kind of thicker. So it's more likely that you'll have the blood not flowing through as easily. And if you get a clot, blockage, then that's going to be a higher risk factor. And it's actually correlated with diabetes. So when we're looking at watching the fats and things we eat, which is something we're going to talk about today for our cholesterol, we need to do that for the triglycerides as well. But with the triglycerides, we also need to pay extra careful attention to the sugars, concentrated sugars. Even things like juice and dried fruit, which is a natural sugar, but for your triglycerides, it can make it worse. And alcohol can make the triglycerides worse. So here's the total cholesterol number. Again, that's important, but it's more important to know is your HDL, that's 60 or higher, definitely not under 40. And then your LDL, your bad cholesterol, what's your number? Is it getting kind of high? And if so, what can you do about it? Is really what we want you to be more aware of. And then here's the triglyceride numbers. So if you know your numbers, they should always give you some kind of a range to look at when you get results back from the doctor. If they don't give you some guidance as to, okay, so you gave me my number, but what does that mean? Then ask them, because they have that, and they'll be able to share that with you. So you'll be able to see if your triglycerides are high. And again, the triglycerides are often linked to diabetes. Do any of you have diabetes or have diabetes in your family? Nobody in here? Oh, some. Okay. Wow, you guys are such a healthy group. that is so rare. Okay. And most rooms will see a good half of the people either have diabetes or have diabetes in their family. It's very, very common. And again, important to know if you are having trouble with your blood sugars or not, and if you have any family members that do, and you haven't been told that you have issues with your blood sugar, keep an eye on it because it can kind of sneak up on you at any time. So you want to keep an eye on your numbers for all of those. Weight. Weight can seem so difficult, can't it, to control? Have you heard of any diets, any advice on weight management from anybody? Is there anywhere you haven't heard advice about weight management? It's everywhere. Everywhere. They try to tell us different fad diets, different approaches. This is the answer. This is the way to control your weight. And if any of them were right, we wouldn't have an obesity epidemic. It wouldn't be so hard for us all to control our weights, right? All of the different fad diets, all of the different advice that you'll get, there's some good reasoning behind the logic behind most of them, and a lot of people are seeing success to an extent with them. If they didn't, then they wouldn't catch on as a fad, because if nobody was succeeding, nobody would care. The problem is that a lot of them will help you lose weight, but not in a real healthy way, and then you gain it back. Have any of you lost weight and you gained it back? And then lost weight and you gained it back? And then lost weight and you gained it back? And each time it gets harder and harder to lose it. So any lifestyle changes that you make for weight loss, you want them to be things that you can keep doing forever. Not anything crazy, nothing that feels like a punishment or torture, because you're not going to keep doing that long term. So while you might lose weight, you're likely to gain it back. So to tell if you are overweight or not, the body mass index is one of the tests that they do. That's comparing your height to your weight. Do you know of any concerns with the body mass index being a good guide to go by for some people? So if it's comparing height to weight, let's say you have two people the same height, and one is kind of pudgy, round, heavy, and one is like a super stocky construction worker, bodybuilder, but they weigh the same amount.
The fat cells?
Yeah, so one has a lot of fat, and the other one has a lot of muscle, and on the scale, they look the same. So on the body mass index, they look the same. So you have to use the body mass index information that you get with some good judgment. So is it telling you that you're obese, but you have like no extra fat on you? Then don't pay attention to it. Know that you have no extra fat on you. Is it telling you that you're okay, but you know you've got a fair amount of extra fat through here? Then realize, even though it's telling you you're okay, you know you have some extra fat around your middle area, which is really where it counts the most. You've heard of like apple shape and pear shape. Apple shape people carry their weight through the middle. Pear shape, they have like weevils, the bigger bottoms. The apple shape, where you carry the fat through the middle, is more dangerous. Why? Why is having fat through this area more dangerous for us? It's around our organs, right? So this is where we don't want to carry the fat. It's okay to have more of the lower body, it's not as much of an issue, but through here, another thing that you can do is test your waist to see how big your waist is. So for ladies, if it's more than 35 inches, that's a concern. You want to start saying, all right, I want to do something so I can bring that down a little bit. For men, if it's more than 40 inches. So I have, if anybody wants, I'll just pass it around. No one's looking at your number. So if you want to do it, you don't have to. You can just pass it around. You want to already know. But if you want to. And sometimes you don't need the measure, the tape measure to tell you, right? You know, if you have some extra through here. So, but that's another number to go by. And it's another marker for you to see you're making progress. So if you measure and you're at 45 inches, and then you think, gosh, I don't know, are all these efforts paying off? And you measure and you're at 41 inches, then you know whatever you're doing is working. You're getting closer to where you want to be. Okay, so we're going to look at managing this heart disease. So we're looking at our numbers. If you know your numbers, you're a step ahead of a lot of people. So we want you to be able to do that first. Know your risk factors. Then again, manage stress, exercise regularly, maintain a healthy body weight, eat a healthy balanced diet, limit unhealthy fats, salt, and sugar, and limit or avoid alcohol and tobacco. Just so you hear it enough that it's brainwashing you just a little bit. So if you have been to the doctor and you know your risk factors, again, you're in a really good place because you know if there's something that you need to give some extra attention to or not.
Yeah.
If you have risk factors, then you want to find out what steps you need to take. So all that we're going to talk about from here on is hopefully going to give you some different steps, tips, lifestyle habits that will help you be healthier in general. And small, gradual changes are the ones that stick. If you decide, well, I'm going to start exercising because I want to be heart healthy, and you don't exercise, but you decide you're going to do 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, is that going to go over well for most people? No, that's not a small gradual change. That's like a you know, looking for your leap because you're about to fall flat on your face change. You want to take small, gradual lifestyle changes so that you can stick with them. Does anybody in here have any stress in their life? Okay, yeah, resounding yes, yeah, right? If you didn't say yes, then you are probably not noticing every little thing. Maybe that's why you're feeling so not stressed out. Most people have stress. Stress isn't always bad. Some stress is good, but stress can get out of control tenfold. And stress is a killer. I have known people who ate healthy, always, they exercised, they didn't have any family history of issues, no lifestyle issues except stress. Stress is a killer, and that got them into the hospital with an open heart surgery or whatever the situation was. So we can't always take stress out of our life, but we can change how we react to the stress, right? We can change how we manage it. What are some ways that you manage stress? Exercise. Huge stress relief. If you haven't tried it, you gotta try it. What's that? Beer? In moderation. I have no idea who said that. In moderation. Yeah, alcohol can relax you. It's in moderation.
Keep
In
you
moderation,
busy.
in moderation. What's that?
Keep you busy.
What was that?
I said keep busy.
Keep busy. Okay, so keeping busy can help relax some people because they get kind of stressed or anxious when they're not.
Dancing.
What's that? Dancing. Who said that?
Dancing.
Yes, absolutely. Dancing is such a big stress relief. What kind of dancing do you like to do? Any kind of dancing? Any kind of dancing will do. Laughing. Some of you are laughing. They have classes called laughter yoga because it is such a stress relief. It's actually classes where you just go and you force yourself to laugh. And whether it's a forced laugh or a genuine laugh, it decreases stress. It actually helps. I used to do that to my kids in the car when they were younger and I would drive them to school. I would just start laughing like a crazy woman. They loved it for like the first 2 times I did it. And they just said I was the crazy mom, especially when you brought friends with them. But that helps. Taking deep breaths, going for a walk, sitting out in the sunshine, whatever helps you de-stress, helps you manage the stress in your life. Again, you can't get rid of the stress sometimes, but you can change how you react to it, how you see it in the big picture, and how you deal with the stress overall. Exercise, like you said, exercise is a good way to de-stress as well, right? It helps a lot. And it helps tremendously with heart disease. And we could talk for an hour about all the benefits of exercise. It helps specifically with the HDL and the LDL. It helps raise the HDL healthy cholesterol. It helps lower the LDL and LD cholesterol. It helps with your blood pressure. It helps with blood sugar. It helps. Let's just say it helps. 30 minutes a day. I've had a lot of cardiologists that I've heard give recommendations on how much exercise people should do. 30 minutes a day every day. 30 minutes a day every day at an elevated heart rate within reason. So if you do the talk test, if you, let's say you're walking, I don't want to get in the way of the screen, I don't blind myself, but if you're walking, and let's say you're, walking fast. If you're walking, some people on the track all the time, they're kind of walking like this. Right, they're talking to their friends, they can sing, they can dance, they're laughing. Do you think their heart rate's up? No, it's so much better that they're not sitting on the couch, but that's not the heart rate level that's going to work their heart enough to really do as much benefit as it could be doing. So if you're walking and I call you on the phone, I should be able to hear that you're kind of having to catch your breath, but you can still talk to me. That's a good elevated heart rate. If I call you and you can't, hold on, you can't talk to me, you need to slow down. That is too much. That's not a manageable lifestyle change. You need to back off because it's really not beneficial at that level. If you don't already exercise and you're going to start, really good idea to always run it past your doctor to make sure that there aren't any special considerations that you need to know for your blood pressure. Like don't hold your breath if you're like doing like a push-up or weights. Don't hold your breath because that makes your blood pressure worse. It's good to check with your doctor. Is exercise fun? Some of you think it can be, yes. Some of you are going like, if you think of exercise like,
You can make
like
it
torture, you need to find something that's fun to do. Dance,
make
that's
it
fun. Do something that makes you look forward to doing it. If you dread it, are you going to do it 30 minutes a day? You're going to find every excuse not to do something that you dread, right? So make it fun. Having an exercise partner, a workout partner, helps make it fun. It helps you be accountable because they're like, hey, get up, we're going, we're gonna go. So that helps. And making yourself accountable. Do any of you exercise? Do you guys get points for tracking your exercise? Yeah? So how do you track your exercise?
50,000 walking steps.
50,000 steps
In a week.
in a week. Okay. I was like, not the 10,000 everybody else is doing. Okay, so in a week.
Like 10.
7,100 steps a day.
Okay. How many of you get that or get close to it? Yeah.
I didn't get
Points. That's a really good way to see. I have a desk job most of the time, and that's a huge awareness. How many steps am I getting? Am I getting up out of my chair and moving? If I can't leave the office that much while I'm talking on the phone, am I up and walking in place? Am I looking at stuff on the internet and I'm looking and I'm researching and I can step instead of sitting the whole time? What can you do just to move more? And how can you check to see that you're doing it? There's phone apps, there's lots of ways you can do that. But it's good to keep tabs on yourself. We talked about weights. Really, it boils down to balancing the calories that you eat with the calories that you burn. All of those different approaches really boil down to that, whether it's carbohydrate, protein, fat. It's the total amount of calories that you're eating and the total amount that you're burning is really the bottom line for all of those. It shouldn't be that difficult, although it is difficult for most people to figure it out. I'm not saying that weight loss is easy. It's actually a lot easier than maintaining the weight. So keep in mind any of the changes that you make, you want to keep doing. You don't want to keep making those changes until you lose weight. You want to keep making changes until you lose weight and then keep doing the same changes, otherwise you're probably going to gain back. If you need help figuring out an easy way for you to do it, find a dietitian, ask your doctor. I'm a dietitian and I've had people come to me and say that they had really bad experiences with different people, saying they made it so difficult and so miserable. If you run into some situation like that, go to another situation. Find somebody else to help you because there are some easy solutions that will help you make those gradual changes, will help you take the weight off and keep it off. It's really something that's hugely important and it just shouldn't be that difficult. All right. So eating healthy. We know there's things that we need to limit. We need to limit the fat, the saturated fat, the trans fat, the sodium, the salt. We'll get to that. We'll talk about that because we do need to watch all of that. But we want to look first at things that we can eat and that we can enjoy that will help our heart health. Because that's a lot more fun. We want to see what we can do, right? Have you seen this before? Yeah. Can anybody explain it? Is it hard to understand? Some people it might be, but it's a lot easier than the old Kukai pyramid that we used to use before this. What is it telling us to do with our plate? This is our plate, this is our meal. Portion, is that what I heard? Yeah, portion, exactly. So when you have spaghetti, what portion of your plate is covered by the noodles? This much? Is that a good thing? So that helps us. Do all of you have fruits and or vegetables at every meal? Think about the last 3 meals that you ate. Did it look like this? Did you have fruits and vegetables with every meal? Or let's say it was breakfast and you didn't eat all of this for breakfast, but you brought for snack like you're having now, whatever you missed. I don't always eat fruits and vegetables for breakfast, but I eat a ton as snacks to make up for that. So there's some give and take in there, but if every meal that we eat looks pretty close to this portion-wise, and we're making healthy choices in each of the areas, we're going to talk about each of the areas, that is one of the best heart-healthy things you can do, and it's one of the easiest ways to think about it. How does my plate look? How is my balance? It's going to help cut calories by portioning everything that way, and it's going to help you get the nutrients that your body needs for heart health and for everything else. Then we have to make sure that the foods we're putting in those areas don't have too much fat, salt, and sugar, and we're not pouring some fat, salt, and sugar on top of those areas, right? Have you heard of the DASH diet? It stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. It's not Mrs. Dash, although she kind of does well with it. But it's a diet specifically for blood pressure, for heart health. And a lot of doctors recommend the DASH diet because they see a lot of results. And with people who have been trying different things and their blood pressure really wasn't being well controlled, when they follow the DASH diet, they see really good results. The DASH diet recommends lots of fruits and vegetables in your diet. The DASH diet recommends whole grains in small portions in your diet. The DASH diet recommends lean protein, and protein you get from dairy products as well as protein foods. What's the first protein food you think of?
Chicken.
Steak.
Fish.
Okay, so chicken steak, usually meat, beef, steak comes up, right? But there's a whole lot of plant-based protein, we'll talk about protein, there's a lot of different options. So getting the lean protein option and the low-fat or non-fat dairy products, part of the DASH diet. The DASH diet looks remarkably close to this plate, don't you think? So if you're following this plate, you're also pretty much following, and one of the specific things with the protein for the DASH diet is nuts, beans, and seeds as part of your protein. That is a specific thing for the nutrients that you're getting from those foods that help with your blood pressure. So if you're following this and making your choices, you're following a good healthy guide in general, and you're following a guide that a lot of the doctors recommend for blood pressure control and heart health. Okay, so the fruits and vegetables, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, antioxidants, fiber. Some of those seem like big words, like antioxidants. It's just anti is against, and oxidant is oxidation, damage. So they fight against damage, against cell damage. They help protect our body from cell damage. So it seems like a big word. Simple thing, does a whole lot of good for us. So you're getting all of those nutrients when you're eating fruits and vegetables. That's one of the reasons we want to have them with each meal, because of all of the nutrients our body needs we can't get if we're not getting those in our diet regularly. Does 5 to 9 servings a day seem like a lot? If you're having some with each meal, does it seem more doable? It really is. If you're having if half of your meal is coming from fruits and vegetables, you'll get 5 to 9 easy. It's easy to actually go over once you start to balance it that way. Eat the rainbow. What does that mean?
All colors.
Who said that?
Skittles.
Right. Skittles. It's not what it means with fruits and vegetables. What does it mean?
Colors.
Colors.
Fruits and vegetables, greens.
Right, eat different colors. So the greens, the yellows. Why? Why do we eat different colors of fruits and vegetables? Because they have different nutrients. The colors actually represent different nutrients. So if we're eating the rainbow, eating different colors of fruits and vegetables, we're getting a variety of nutrients, so our body's getting a variety of all the things that it needs. So if half of our plate is filled with fruits and vegetables at each meal, we're doing a fantastic job for our health. One of the things we're getting from the fruits and vegetables is fiber. We also get fiber from whole grains, if you're choosing whole grains. We'll hit on that again in a second. And from beans. Those are all really good fiber sources. Fiber is one of those hidden little miracle nutrients that has so many benefits for us. It helps with blood sugar control, it helps with cholesterol, helps to actually clear the cholesterol out of our system before it gets into our blood system. It helps with regularity, it helps with blood pressure without looking. There's like lists of benefits from fiber. We're trying to focus on the heart health here, but there's so many benefits. So if you're getting fiber from fruits and vegetables, and it doesn't matter, you've heard of soluble and insoluble fiber, possibly? You want some of both. So it's like with your apple, it's the soluble is the flesh, the white part of the apple, the insoluble is like the skin. You should eat them both. They both have benefits. They used to say some were good for others, some of the fiber is good for some issues, but now we just know we need to eat both types. And with the whole grains, remember that was that small corner, not the spaghetti covering the whole plate, but the small corner of the plate, that we should get some whole grains. You don't have to have whole grains at every single meal, I don't think, but you should have some whole grains in your diet. What are some whole grains that you know of?
Rice. Brown rice.
Brown rice? Wild rice, brown rice, anything other than the white rice, really? There's another ricey type thing, it has a weird name and it's mispronounced a lot. Quinoa, yeah, quinoa, that's really good. There's a lot of grains. How about oats? Are those a whole grain? Doesn't matter what kind of oats you get? Oats are whole grain, unless you've had sugar added to them, like a little packet. Oats are whole grain. Whole grain bread, whole grain crackers. What's the difference between a whole grain product and a refined grain product? Like white bread.
Less grain?
Yeah, it has less of the grain, exactly. So a refined grain like white bread or the white crackers or the white rice, it has part of the grain. It doesn't have the vitamins and the minerals and the phytochemicals and the antioxidants and the fiber that whole grains have. It's a lot like fruits and vegetables with the nutrients that you'll get from it. So the refined grains are kind of missing the whole point of eating whole grain and getting the health benefits. How do you know if it's whole grain? Can you tell by the color? A brown looking bread, is that whole grain?
The weight.
The weight, because it's heavy sometimes,
Mhm.
yes. And if you look at the package, if it has any kind of a packaging on it, if the first ingredient is whole grain something, that's a really good sign that the first ingredient is the one that you're getting the most of in that food, but it's by weight, so be careful with that one. And then if it says on the label how much fiber in whole grain there is, you want 3 grams of whole grain, 3 grams of fiber or more per serving, and 16 grams of whole grain or more per serving. And you can say that anywhere in the package. So if you look at some bread and it says it's made with really small, whole grain, really big, and the first ingredient is not whole grain, and it doesn't say anywhere in the package how much whole grain it has, it probably doesn't have enough whole grain to give you any benefit. Okay, so I would look for one that actually tells you how much. 16 grams of whole grain or more is a good goal. Protein, so another one of those small parts, but very important parts of the plate. Protein is a part of every cell and function in our body. So it's hugely important. Our body needs it throughout the day. So it's good to have it on your plate at each meal and to have regular meals throughout the day. Protein helps control fluid in your body, so it helps control blood pressure. It's really important. That helps control blood sugar. We'll look at that again on the next slide. You want to have a variety of the protein foods. Is there a difference between getting your protein from animal foods or plant foods? Is there one difference you can think of that might be good or bad for heart health?
Maybe the animals that have more fat, more fat.
Yes, the animals have more fat, and it has the animal fat is a bad fat. We're going to talk about saturated fat. Animal fats are saturated fat. So we want to make sure we're getting the leanest animal products that we can. The dairy products are animal products. So we want the low fat or the fat-free dairy products because the saturated fat that's in them, because it's an animal product, is not good for our heart. Then there's beans, there's nuts, there's seeds, there's soy products, there's a lot of plant-based protein that doesn't have that fat in it that we should get as a top priority as well. And fish is a really good option for protein. Okay, so we said that protein is important for blood sugar control. And this is looking at snacking. First, what's a snack? What are some snack foods?
Between meals.
In between meals, yes. So what's typical snack foods that most people eat?
Chips.
Chips, cookies, candy. Are those snacks or are those treats?
Treats.
Those are treats, right? But we think of them as snacks. We need to stop thinking of them as everyday snack foods and realize those are things for like birthday parties, celebrations, once in a while times, not every single day foods, right? Snacks should be in between meals, and they should be off that plate. They should be something healthy off that plate, just a smaller amount of it. And if you have carbohydrates, that gives you energy. So a little bit of carbohydrate in your snack will help keep your energy up. It will also keep your blood sugar up, because when your blood sugar drops, if you're in between meals and you're feeling really like just wiped out, tired, it could be that your blood sugars are really low because you haven't eaten and you need to eat something. So if you have carbohydrate, it helps bring your blood sugars up in the healthy range where they're supposed to be. If you have carbohydrate by itself, especially if you are diabetic, it can make your blood sugars go too high, and then it can drop really low. So in particular, if you have diabetes, I don't have diabetes, but this still affects me. If I were to eat like an apple by itself, it'll bring my blood sugars up, and then about an hour later, I'm going to be like falling asleep at my desk because my blood sugars are going to crash, because I have issues with my blood sugars going low. So what a great idea to do is when you have carbohydrates, which come from fruit, whole grains, dairy products like milk and yogurt have carbohydrate, but they also have protein with them. So to have some kind of protein with the carbohydrate, that's going to help your blood sugars come up into the healthy range, not go too high and not dip low. It's going to keep them in that healthy up and down range that we need. So combining things like if you have crackers, have a stick of string cheese with that. If you have fruit, have a handful of nuts with that. If you have any carbohydrate, you can have a little bit of protein with it if your blood sugars tend to go too high or dip low, either way. And nuts are some of the healthy protein foods. They have a lot of healthy benefits to nuts. They're actually linked to healthy hearts. They are linked to helping control heart disease. Are there any nuts that you can think of you should not have?
Salted.
Salted? What else? Can you see them anywhere? We've added things too, like the salt, the sugar, and extra oil. Sometimes we cook them in extra oil too. They have oil in them. They have good healthy fats in them. That's one of the benefits of the nuts, is that they have a good healthy fat, which we're gonna talk about next, because there are good fats for us. So if nuts are good for us, let's say we just have raw almonds and they don't have extra salt or sugar or oil, can we just eat all we want because it's a good healthy protein? Why not? What? I heard something, but I don't know what it was. That healthy fat that comes in the nuts comes with a lot of calories. So nuts are actually a protein and a fat serving together. So if a quarter cup is a serving, a quarter cup, it's like this much, not this much, this much is a serving. If you can eat a cup, I can eat a cup, I can eat 2 cups easy, but if you eat a cup, that's 4 servings of protein and 4 or more servings of fat, because it has a lot of fat. So we want to eat nuts, eat them regularly, 4 or 5 times a week would be great, but small portions so that it doesn't make that waistline go up. Which, by the way, does anybody have the technique? There, okay, thank you. Just so I know where to get it afterwards. Did everybody get good results from it? Yeah, most people didn't look, right? All right, so those healthy fats, like the fats in nuts, those again are healthy for our heart. So unsaturated fats, we're gonna look at, we talked about saturated, we mentioned them, we're gonna talk about them. The unsaturated fats can actually help lower the LDL, lousy, bad cholesterol, and increase the HDL, healthy cholesterol. So it's really, really heart healthy for us. But it's important to limit the portions of all fats, like the nuts. So avocados are really healthy. They have a really healthy fat for us. So should you eat the whole avocado or part of it?
Part.
Part of it, because they're so healthy.
Maybe a quarter or
A
something.
quarter of it would be great. Yeah, maybe half, depending how big it is. Great. So if you hand me the whole bowl of guacamole, I'm in trouble. I need you to give me a little dish of it, because I won't stop as long as it's in front of me. And that's going to be way too many calories, and then my waistline's going to go up. So small amounts of healthy nuts, olive oil and canola oil, avocados, seeds. And then the omega-3 fats. Have you heard of omega-3 fats? Have you heard of fish oil? Fish oil and omega-3 fats, kind of the same thing. There's different types of omega-3 fats. Some are plant and some are fish-based, but they are like these super fats. They help make the HDL and the LDL both go in the right direction. They help with triglycerides, they help with inflammation. These are your friend. You want these fats in moderation. So some sources that we get those fats from are some plant sources. Nuts are good. Walnuts are the best nuts because of the omega-3s in them. And then fish, the fat in fish, when we say we want lean protein, with fish, the fattier the better, because of the type of fat that comes in them, is actually even more beneficial than the plant source of the omega-3s. Have you heard of flax seeds and chia seeds?
Yes.
They are, chia seeds are these little tiny seeds, and they get kind of gelatinous when they get wet. So you don't have to do anything to them except add them to your food. You can add them to your oatmeal, your drinks, your smoothies, your salad dressing, your spaghetti sauce, your casseroles, whatever you want to add them to. And they have these really healthy fats and fiber and other nutrients. Flax seeds, you can add in all the same ways to your diet. Have any of you bought the whole flaxseed, or do you buy the ground flaxseed meal? It's like cornmeal. Because if you're buying the whole flaxseed, you're getting that good healthy fiber on the outside, but you're not digesting that fiber, so you're not getting the healthy fat and all the other nutrients from the inside. So if you have whole flaxseed, you want to grind them before you add them to your food, or you want to just buy the ground flaxseed meal. Okay, so then you'll get all this healthy fat. And fats are all a combination of unsaturated fat and saturated fat. If they have mostly unsaturated fat, we consider them an unsaturated fat. If they have mostly saturated, we consider them a saturated. So just realize it's always kind of a mix of those. So here's the unhealthy fats, the saturated fats that we mentioned. Saturated fat is solid at room temperature. Picture it solid at room temperature and solid in your arteries. It's the animal fats mostly that we get the saturated fat from, so we really wanna get the leanest, lowest fat, fat-free versions of food, so we're not getting the saturated fat. We also add saturated fat to a lot of processed foods and baked foods, so we wanna be aware of that. I'll show you what to look for on a label later, so if you're looking at a label, you can see if the food that you're eating has too much saturated fat or not. Are you surprised to see chocolate or coconut oil on the list? Because you've heard it's healthy.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Right? Yes. So in chocolate, the cocoa bean, the cocoa part of chocolate is very healthy. It has a lot of nutrients in it. The fat, the butter fat we add to it. So if we get the dark chocolate that doesn't have as much fat in small portions, enjoy that. But the big king size Hershey bar that most of us go for, that's not the healthy chocolate that we're talking about. And then the coconut oil is really, really controversial. It's the most saturated fat. Have any of you bought it? And at room temperature, it's like solid, right? It doesn't melt, but it's not really oil at room temperature. Have any of you ever put it in the refrigerator? I did, just to see what it was like. Rock, hard, solid. You can't do, it's saturated. It is so saturated. So the thought is it's saturated fat and it's bad for our heart, like all the other saturated fats. The other side of thinking about the coconut oil is that it's a plant source, and some people believe that it is actually healthy for our heart and good for our health in different ways. I've had people say, you know, I switched to coconut oil and my cholesterol went down. I've had other people say, you know, I switched to coconut oil and my cholesterol went up. And the studies are about that mix. So until they decide and they have studies showing, I'd be very careful with it. It's great if you want to put it in your hair or in dry skin, but if you want to eat it, I'd be careful with it for now. The one thing that I have seen huge results in it for is for like Alzheimer's, the MCT, medium chain triglycerides in the coconut oil. If I'm elderly and I'm getting Alzheimer's and it's a choice between heart disease risk or not with the coconut oil or helping me think more clearly, I'm gonna hope that people give me coconut oil so I think more clearly, because at that stage, that's gonna be a different factor. So be careful with it. Unless that's the issue, be careful with it for a heart disease risk, okay? Because we just don't know yet. How about trans fats? You've heard of trans fats? Have you heard of hydrogenated oil? It's the same thing. Trans fats and hydrogenated oil are essentially the same thing. They were in all of the processed foods because it made the shelf life, the taste, the stability, the texture, made everything in the food so much better. And then we realized it was killing us. We realized how unhealthy it was for us. So much so that has now been banned from being added to foods. But we're in that transition phase where it hasn't disappeared yet. You know, they get years to actually take it out of the foods. So we want to look at all of the processed foods and restaurant foods that we eat and aim for 0 trans fats, no trans fats. If it has a label, there's your label lesson already on that. We'll mention it again later. No trans fats, not 1 gram, not half a gram, 0. And you want to look at the ingredients to see that it doesn't say hydrogenated. Even if it says 0 on the label, if it says hydrogenated in the ingredients, there are still trans fats. Like some peanut butter. So maybe you eat Jif or Skippy peanut butter. The regular one, you'll read the ingredients, it says hydrogenated. The natural Jif and Skippy looks and tastes and feels just like regular peanut butter. It doesn't separate like some of the others do, and there's no hydrogenated oil. Some coffee creamers have hydrogenated oil. A lot don't. Ritz crackers, if they haven't changed yet, have hydrogenated oil. There's a lot of crackers that don't. So my favorite popcorn has it, a lot don't. So you want to be on the lookout for these and avoid them because it has the most negative effect on your heart health of any of the fats. Salt. Salt is not bad. We need salt to live, but we get way too much of it. They actually did a study at UC San Francisco and found that if we as Americans were to cut back just a half a teaspoon a day on the amount of sodium that we typically eat, then every year we could cut out 99,000 heart attacks, 66,000 strokes, and 92,000 deaths. Seems pretty easy to me, cut back on the salt, right? So we want to be on the, you're like, no, it's not that easy. So we want to be on the lookout for where we get the salt, because it increases our blood pressure is one of the main issues. It has a lot of issues with the sodium, but it increases our blood pressure, and that's one of the main heart disease issues. So processed foods, packaged foods in the past have all been really, really high in sodium. Restaurant foods still are, most of them. You have to be careful with restaurant foods. If they can prepare something special for you, like a piece of fish or chicken or meat that they're preparing for you, you can tell them not to salt it. If it's a lasagna or a soup, it is what it is. It's gonna be high sodium. The packaged foods, you'll be surprised how many of them are not high in sodium. You can get a lot of canned foods that are not high in sodium. You can get a lot of processed foods in general that used to all be high in sodium, and they're not. But you need to know what to look for on the label. So I promise I will actually tell you what that is. But you want the food to taste good. When you take sodium out, the biggest complaint is, I don't like the taste of the food anymore. It tastes bland, right? So add flavor back in. Garlic and onions and herbs, and there's so many ways you can add tons of flavor, just not with the salty seasoning. Okay. And sugar. We used to think sugar wasn't so bad if you weren't diabetic. Go ahead and have some licorice. You know, lay off the chocolate because it has fat in it. But now we know that sugar causes inflammation. Inflammation causes disease. Sugar is more harmful to our health than the trans fat that we said was the worst fat. So it's something that we really need to pay a lot more attention to. Where do we get sugar in our diet? Where do you get sugar in your diet?
From fruits.
Hmm? What'd you say?
We get it from fruits.
Okay, I'm glad that you said fruits, because the sugar that's harmful to us is the added processed sugar that we add to food. So if it's just like a whole fruit like you guys are eating, that's a healthy sugar. The naturally occurring sugar in fruits and in dairy products, that's a good healthy sugar. It's if you have the natural sugar in, say, yogurt or milk, and then you add a lot of added sugar to it, it's that added sugar. So you'll actually start to see on the label that they're separating that out, and they're starting to tell you how much added sugar is in the foods, because that's the dangerous part. If you're diabetic, all sugars, natural or added, you have to take into consideration for your blood sugar. But beyond that, it's the added sugar that we're looking at. And one of the main ways a lot of people get their sugars in what they drink, and it adds up very fast. One can, not a 20 ouncer, not a 32 ouncer, one can of soda has 40 grams of sugar. Is that a lot?
It's a lot.
How many teaspoons is that?
10 or more.
It's 10, because every 4 grams of sugar is a teaspoon. You got it exactly. So would you get a little 12-ounce glass of water, and would you put in 10 teaspoons of sugar purposefully? Say, this is what I'm drinking. If you have tea, would you add 10 teaspoons of sugar to that tea? They do it for you. If you get the sweet tea at like McDonald's, it's the same as this. How about coffee drinks? Those are better, right? It's just coffee with a little bit of whatever. Depends on what coffee drink you get. For the same 12 ounces,
56.
you could get a whole lot more sugar in that little tiny $5 cup that they give you. The recommendation for a day for sugar for women is about 6 teaspoons a day. For men, 9 teaspoons a day, which seems like a lot. But the men just went over it with one soda, and ladies, we almost got twice as much as we needed with one soda. So to be extra careful with the sugar in the foods that we eat and the foods that we drink is really very important for our health. Okay, I promised to show you the label. So here's the label. There it is. Any questions? No. Okay, so when you look at a label, what do you look at? We said saturated fat was an issue. We said trans fat was an issue. Sodium was an issue. Cholesterol, we've been talking about the cholesterol in our blood, but we don't look at the cholesterol in the food anymore. It's not the cholesterol that makes our blood cholesterol go up. It's the saturated fat and the trans fat in the food that makes our blood cholesterol go up. So we don't look at that on the label. We specifically look at the saturated fat, the sodium, and the added sugar. There's that added sugar line that they're starting to add. So if you remember the S's, saturated fat, so you know which fat you're looking at, sodium, and added sugar. If you look at these percentages, it will be so much easier for you, because the grams and milligrams are really misleading. Small numbers are really big and big numbers are really small. But if you look at that percentage, this is the percentage of how much you need for the day. So if you're looking at a portion of food, so look at your serving size, because if you're having 2 or 3 times the serving size, you're having 2 or 3 times this percentage. Okay? So for the amount that you're having, try to keep the saturated fat, the sodium, and the added sugar close to 5%. Try not to go over 10. That's too far away from 5. Okay? So the saturated fat is at 5%. Is that a good number to see? That's perfect, right? The sodium is at 7%. Is that a good number to see? If you're looking at a food and it has 7% daily value of sodium, is that good? Is that a low sodium food? Yeah, that's really close to the 5, that's under 10, that's a good number to see. How about the added sugar, 20%, is that good? No, that's double the 10% we said not to go over, right? So it's way too far away from the 5%. So if we keep it around 5%, 10% or less, will keep us there. Saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar, if you just look for those 3 things, keeping in mind your serving size, then you'll be choosing a lot healthier foods, and you won't be so confused as to which ones are healthy. Now, if it's a meal like a frozen dinner, that's a bigger part of your day, so instead of 5%, keep it under 25. So like if it's a whole dinner, if the sodium's 23%, that's actually a good number for the whole day, okay? But keep it at about 5% for just a handful of crackers or a serving of yogurt, just a portion of food. And then we also said that trans fats and hydrogenated oils are things that we need to watch out for. So what number, I know you can see it, but what number did I say to look for on the trans fats?
0.
0. Is 1 okay?
No.
No, 1 would be 50%, if they put a percentage there, it'd be 50%, so 1 is not okay. 0.5, half a gram would be 25%. You want 0, none at all. And if there's ingredients, which they didn't put the ingredients on the slide here, but if there are ingredients, if anything in there says hydrogenated, try to find a different version of it, like those foods we talked about, okay, like the peanut butters, the coffee creamers, all of those. Look for ones that don't say hydrogenated, because even if it says 0 up here, if it says hydrogenated, there are still trans fats. And it's legal, it's not like, hey, how can they do that? It's because there could be as much as 0.49 grams, and they don't have to list it as 0.5, they can list it as 0. So all we have to remember is 0 trans fat and no hydrogenated ingredients. Okay, so remember, we want the total wellness approach. Okay, we want you to look at managing your risk, knowing your risk factors, managing your stress, exercising regularly, maintaining a healthy body weight, eating a healthy balanced diet, limiting the unhealthy fat, salt, and sugar, and making those small, gradual changes. Okay, and if you need help with any of that, find somebody who can help you and give you some guidance for you, for your specific situation. Any questions? I answered every question in the world.
How's vitamins versus the real deal? I know that, like fish oil.
Okay. Oh, I'm really glad. I meant to mention that. So be really careful with fish oil supplements. One of the benefits of fish oil is that it works as a blood thinner. So if you're